In a world where words appear to lose their value, where noise and superficiality are the norm, there are a few questions that come to mind. Is it possible to demonstrate our worth without uttering a single word? Is it possible to know the truth about the intentions and values of those who are around us beyond what they say? In accordance with the ancient Stoic philosophy, the answer is unequivocally favorable. One of the most important characteristics that a human being ought to possess, according to the Stoics, is courage, and they believe that this quality could be demonstrated through actions rather than through words. From this day forward, we extend to you an invitation to embark on this journey of personal transformation, during which you will learn how to acknowledge your own worth and become an example to both yourself and the rest of the world. I encourage you to stay until the very end, as when you do, you will discover important lessons that will help you strengthen all of your plans in the face of any kind of challenge. If you are visiting my channel for the first time, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to it and give the video a thumbs up. This will allow me to continue producing content similar to this in the future. In this video, we will learn how to dive into something that is genuine and how to understand your worth by looking at it from a perspective that has endured the test of time. Stoicism. Yes, you read that correctly, Stoicism. Not only does this ancient philosophy emphasize the importance of being insensitive or enduring pain, but it also emphasizes the importance of understanding what is truly important in life, particularly in our relationships. Let's get started. You should present yourself with respect. I want to make it clear that Stoicism is not about repressing your feelings or being indifferent. Before you start imagining a Stoic as a stern, unflappable figure from ancient times, let me let you know that this is not the case. Acquiring an understanding of the areas in which your energy should be invested is essential. Now, let's have a conversation about what it means to present yourself with dignity when you are in a relationship. In order to win someone's approval, we may sometimes put in so much effort to impress them that we end up losing ourselves in the process. This may involve dressing in a particular manner or speaking in a particular manner. And this is where our Stoic wisdom comes into play. Your dignity is not attributable to the clothes you wear or the places you frequent. Rather, it is based on how you conduct yourself, the actions you take, and the decisions you make. Take a moment to picture yourself in a cafe where you see two people who are out on a date. The first is all glitz and glamour, trying to impress others, while the second is completely at ease in their own skin. Which one do you believe will make an impression that will last a lifetime? One that is authentic. Your ability to present yourself with dignity is what gives you this power. Stoicism is a way of life that emphasizes honesty and respect for oneself. What implications does this have for the world we live in today? It's not complicated at all. If you have a strong interest in something, you should make it your own. Put it on display. It is not about pretending to be someone you are not. Rather, it is about being at ease and secure in your own skin, knowing that you're worthy just the way you are. In addition to that, remember to show yourself the courtesy that you deserve. The manner in which you act toward yourself serves as a model for how other people will behave toward you. When you say that it is acceptable for them to treat you in the same manner, you are sending a message to the entire world. However, if you respect yourself, that is, if you value your time, your energy, and your emotions, you are sending a loud and clear message that says, I am worthy of respect, and I expect to be treated as such. When it comes to relationships, it is not just about how you see yourself or what you say. Rather, it is about how you react and behave in different situations. In what manner do you respond, with desperation or with dignity? If you want to fit in, Are you willing to compromise your values by doing so, or are you willing to stand your ground even if it means standing alone? It is not necessary for you to be flawless after all. We are all living beings. We are not perfect, we have our embarrassing moments. But what matters is how you handle those situations when they arise. Do you collapse when you are under pressure, or do you keep your head up and learn from the experience? Let's take some time to think about how we can begin to present ourselves with more dignity in the interactions we have on a daily basis. In our relationships, it may be beneficial to establish boundaries that are both clear and healthy. This involves communicating in a manner that is both firm and respectful what we are willing to accept and what we are not willing to accept. We are able to safeguard our emotional integrity and establish a standard of mutual respect as a result of this. One additional method for presenting oneself with dignity is to acquire the ability to decline requests for things that do not correspond with our priorities and values. It is possible that this will require us to decline commitments or situations that provoke discomfort or that are in direct opposition to our values. By acting in this manner, we demonstrate our commitment to ourselves and reaffirm our right to live our lives in accordance with our fundamental beliefs. Additionally, it may involve treating other people with a little bit more kindness and respect in our day-to-day interactions. This means acknowledging the humanity that exists in every person we come into contact with and demonstrating empathy for the experiences and emotions that they are going through. When we start to acknowledge and appreciate our own dignity, we project an air of self-assurance and self-esteem that is perceived by the outside world. This has an effect on how other people perceive us and how they interact with us, thereby establishing a constructive cycle of mutual respect and appreciation for the dignity of every individual. However, if you want to know your worth, I know what you are thinking. No, please, not another conversation about self-esteem. However, if you stick with me, you won't hear anything about looking in the mirror and repeating how amazing you are. So, what exactly does Stoicism have to do with being aware of your value in the context of relationships? Actually, quite a lot. We learn from Stoics that the most important thing is to concentrate on the things that we have control over, and your self-esteem is entirely under your control. It is not the number of likes you receive on Instagram or whether someone sends you a friend request on any other social network that matters. Rather, it is how you view and value yourself that matters. Think about it in a different way. Imagine that you are a piece of precious jewelry. Some people may fail to recognize the value of a rare gem, and others may fail to recognize it without even being aware of what it is. On the other hand, this does not affect the value of gemstones. They continue to be valuable, rare, and one of a kind. You are a true reflection of yourself. Authentic, one of a kind, and valuable characterizes you. The fact that someone does not recognize your value does not make it any less valuable. Now, let's try to be a little more accurate. It is inevitable that we will all, at some point in our lives, be subjected to rejection and experience the sensation of not being good enough. This is especially true in our hyper-connected world, where it appears that everyone is living their dreams. Stoicism, on the other hand, serves to remind you that your value is not dependent on the approval of another person, but rather on the way in which you live your life. Would you be kind? Are you telling the truth? Is the way you live something that you can be proud of? You have reached your true worth. Since the Stoics placed a strong emphasis on introspection, you should take a moment to consider your qualities. Not just the superficial aspects, but also the more profound principles. Whether it's being compassionate, resilient, or a great listener, What are the things that make you feel good when you do them? The value of you can be attributed to these characteristics. In addition, here is the secret: once you have a profound understanding of this, it will alter the way you interact with the people in your relationships. Due to the fact that you have an excessive amount of respect for yourself, you will not tolerate nonsense. This is not because you are arrogant. And here is a little Stoic exercise for you the next time you feel like you are being belittled. Rather than spiraling into self-doubt, ask yourself what your values and strengths are. It is not about becoming arrogant, rather, it is about quietly acknowledging that you are deserving of positive reinforcement from the outside world. One of the most influential Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, is quoted as saying, "You have power over your mind, not external events. Understand this, and you will find strength." When we enter the realm of relationships, we open ourselves up to a situation in which it is essential to acknowledge and value our own worth. It is essential to have the understanding that our value is not solely the result of the external perceptions of other people, but rather that it is rooted in the way that we perceive ourselves. Every day we are reminded of the importance of cultivating and nurturing our self-esteem and inner confidence through a consistent practice that serves as a daily reminder. We have the opportunity to affirm ourselves in our worth each and every day when we wake up, regardless of the opinions or judgments of other people as we go about our day. Keeping in mind that we are valuable beings deserving of love and respect is not something that we do because someone else tells us so. Rather, it is something that we firmly believe in our hearts and minds. During this journey towards self-awareness and self-acceptance, we come to the realization that our value is not contingent on the opinions of others, but rather is rooted in our own essence and authenticity. Every step that we take along this journey of self-discovery brings us a little bit closer to comprehending the value that we truly possess. Personal development is a process that occurs gradually and continuously. And it is through this process that we learn to recognize and appreciate our own strengths, virtues, and distinctive qualities. As we continue to delve deeper into this inner journey, we come to realize that our value is not dependent on the approval of others. Rather, it is rooted in how we perceive ourselves. Acquiring the knowledge that our value is something that we have the ability to cultivate and strengthen over time gives us the ability to take control of our lives and the relationships we experience. It enables us to live from a place of unwavering self-esteem and confidence, freeing us from the need to seek validation from individuals or institutions outside of ourselves. At the end of the day, it is about remembering that we are deserving of love and respect simply for being who we are, and finding strength in our own worth, regardless of whether or not other people recognize it. Maintaining boundaries. Don't tell me, show me what you're doing. This principle is absolutely applicable whenever we are discussing the establishment of boundaries. While it is one thing to communicate to another person what your limits are, it is an entirely different thing to actually demonstrate those limits through your actions. Take into consideration the following: anyone can make the claim that they will not put up with being treated poorly, but the moment of truth arrives when they are actually confronted with that circumstance. Do you let people cross your boundaries, or do you maintain a firm stance on them? Right there is where your true power lies. What is more important is not what is said, but what is done. Remember what our Stoic friends taught us: everything is under our control, including the choice of how we react to situations. This may not be easy, especially when emotions are involved, but it is important to keep in mind that everything is under our control. It is not your words that define your boundaries, rather, it is your reaction to situations in which someone crosses a line. When someone lies to you, for instance, and you have made it abundantly clear that you place a high value on honesty, the manner in which you respond to that circumstance speaks volumes. You can demonstrate that you take your boundaries seriously by either removing yourself from the situation or addressing it in a direct and calm manner. This is not about creating drama, rather, it is about respecting yourself and being respected in a manner that is congruent with your values. When it comes to relationships, this strategy has the potential to completely change the game. When people see that you have standards and values that you are determined to uphold, as well as boundaries that you will not allow to be crossed, they begin to understand what you will and will not accept. It is about developing a sense of self-respect and maintaining that sense of self-respect. This is where things start to get a little bit more stoic. It's not just about the big things, it's also about the little boundaries that we encounter on a daily basis. What you do in response to someone cancelling plans at the last minute, or how you deal with the situation when someone takes you for granted, is what matters. Both through your actions and your words, you convey the message that this is not acceptable. Being present in the moment is only one aspect of the practice of mindfulness. There are many more. In this practice, we are instructed to immerse ourselves completely in the experience of the here and now, paying attention to each and every thought, feeling, and action that arises within us. As part of this journey towards self-awareness, we encourage ourselves to question and contemplate the ways in which our actions reflect the personal boundaries and fundamental principles that we hold dear. We provide ourselves with the opportunity to evaluate whether or not our actions are in accordance with our boundaries and authenticity when we are fully aware of the present moment. It is a continuous process of self-evaluation in which we ask ourselves whether we are behaving in a manner that is congruent with our most fundamental principles and values, or whether we are deviating from our authentic selves as a result of pressures from the outside world or the expectations of society. By engaging in this practice, we have the opportunity to scrutinize each and every interaction and circumstance, looking for hints about how we are reacting and whether or not we are remaining true to who we are. It encourages us to be witnesses to our own boundaries, to recognize when we feel comfortable or compromised, and to take actions to protect our integrity and emotional well-being. It also encourages us to take action. It's in the small moments of everyday life where the true test of our boundaries lies. It's in these seemingly insignificant situations where our true nature and the strength of our character are revealed. Therefore, mindfulness practice challenges us to be present in every moment, to be aware of how we're reacting to life's various circumstances, and to cultivate greater clarity and discernment in our actions and decisions. As we navigate our daily lives and interact with others, we can adopt a somewhat stoic perspective in how we show and establish our personal boundaries. It's not just about imposing strict rules or being inflexible in our interactions. Ultimately, it's about cultivating that internal compass that guides us in how we act and react to different situations. This internal compass, inspired by Stoic principles, invites us to be mindful of our own boundaries and values and to act in accordance with them at all times. It's not about shutting ourselves off from the outside world or erecting walls around us, but rather about establishing healthy boundaries that reflect who we are and what we value in life. When we begin to live in this way, people around us take notice. They begin to see us as individuals who not only have clear boundaries, but also respect ourselves enough to have them respected by others. It's as if we're emitting an invisible signal that says, "This is who I am, this is what I stand for, and I'm not willing to compromise my principles for the convenience of others." We become a beacon of integrity and authenticity in a world that is often filled with uncertainty and confusion when we live our lives in accordance with our boundaries and values. This attitude not only enables us to cultivate a deeper sense of self-esteem and confidence, but it also enables us to build relationships that are more genuine and respectful. For limiting access, I know this may sound a bit old-fashioned, perhaps even a bit strict, but hear me out. It's not about playing hard to get, but rather about respecting and understanding your own value. What does Stoicism say about this? It teaches us the art of self-discipline and control, but not in a rigid and inflexible way. It's about knowing what is truly valuable and not squandering it carelessly in a world of instant gratification. It's like a breath of fresh air. When it comes to relationships, or when we are dating someone, there is a tendency to be in a hurry to share everything: our time, our space, and our most private thoughts. However, the Stoics would advise taking a step back, because something that is easily accessible tends to lose its value. This is because it is human nature. If you are always available, if you always say yes to everything, where is the mystery, the depth, and the anticipation? Now let's talk about how to limit access in a dignified and stoic manner. First, it's about how you present yourself. Dress elegantly but modestly. It's not just about fashion, it's a statement of intent that says, I value myself. You're not hiding, but you're also not revealing too much. For everything, there's a balance, a sense that I'm more than what meets the eye. Being selective about who gets your time is powerful in a world where we are constantly connected. It is not about playing games, rather, it is about saying, my time is valuable and I choose to spend it wisely. If you are with someone, you should be fully present and committed to them, but when you are not with them, you should feel okay about not being available, because you are focused on your own life, your passions, and your growth. Stoicism also teaches us about emotional self-control. This does not mean that you should become cold or distant. In fact, it means that you should not allow anything to deeply affect you. You should keep a certain inner calm and refrain from giving away your emotional energy to just anyone. Mind you, I am not suggesting that you become a stoic statue. We are all human, and connection is what makes life rich. However, there is beauty in taking things slowly, in constructing a connection that is not simply based on instant access and immediate gratification. It is about constructing something that has depth and something that endures. Always remember that limiting access isn't about playing with others' feelings or manipulating situations to our advantage. On the contrary, it's an act of deep self-respect and consistency with our own core values. Limiting access means demonstrating, not just with empty words but with concrete actions, that we value ourselves and deserve to be valued by others in the same way. It's a process that involves being a bit more selective in our interactions, a bit more careful in our decisions, and a bit more moderate in our expressions. It's about finding that delicate balance between sharing openly and, at the same time, retaining a part of ourselves, thus protecting our emotional integrity and self-esteem. By adopting this approach, we're following in the footsteps of the Stoics. In our modern world of dating and relationships, we're committing to living according to our deepest principles and establishing clear boundaries that reflect our dignity and self-esteem. Believe me, this approach makes all the difference in how we're perceived and treated by others. By valuing ourselves and acting with the firmness and cohesion of the Stoics, we're sending a clear message to the world around us that we deserve to be treated with respect and consideration, and that we're not willing to compromise our integrity out of fear of loneliness or lack of acceptance. Focus on actions, not words. As we've explored, Stoicism is about practical wisdom, about judging people by their actions, not just their sweet words. We live in a world full of charming words and empty promises, especially when it comes to relationships. However, the Stoics teach us to look beyond that, to observe actions because they reveal the truth. It's easy to say all the things we believe to be right or what others want to hear, to make promises, paint a perfect future. Your actions back up your words, that's the real story. We've all been there. As soon as we meet someone, they start telling us all these nice and surprising things, and we get carried away. However, over time the actions don't fully match. They say they'll call, but they don't. Let's be realistic for a moment. We've all been there. Despite the fact that they make plans and then cancel them at the last minute, their words continue to hold us. In this situation, our inner Stoic self needs to step in and help us out. The philosophy of Stoicism teaches us not to let ourselves be influenced by words or by our feelings. Being reasonable and taking things in their natural state is essential. It is a warning sign when the actions of a person do not correspond with the words that they convey. When we shift our focus, it is as if the universe is telling us, "Hey, pay attention, something's off here." This shift in focus completely alters the dynamics of our relationships. Instead of getting lost in words and romantic promises, we start paying attention to the subtle details, such as how they react when they are under pressure, whether or not they follow through on what they and whether or not they are there for us not just in words but in a genuine and tangible way. And here's the truly fascinating part of this process. When we focus on actions, we set a standard and send a clear and forceful message that says, "I'm not just listening to what you say, I'm watching what you do." People around us realize that they can't simply recite sweet words to earn a place in our lives. They need to demonstrate their value and true intentions through concrete and consistent actions. We are able to discern with greater clarity and wisdom in our relationships as a result of this shift in perspective. It makes it possible for us to distinguish between words and actions, and it assists us in constructing relationships that are more genuine and significant, ones that are founded on trust and respect for one another. The end result is that it enables us to cultivate relationships that are healthier and more satisfying, where the coherence between words and actions is of the utmost importance. Being rational, observant, and wise in our interactions and personal relationships is what it means to adopt a Stoic attitude when it comes to love or romantic relationships. Recognizing that, at the end of the day, it is concrete actions that truly reveal people's feelings and intentions, rather than words alone, is a significant step in the right direction. Therefore, by committing to this philosophy of life, we give ourselves the ability to make decisions in our relationships that are more informed and conscious. These decisions are based on a profound understanding of reality as well as an honest appreciation of both ourselves and others. Get ready to leave the office. Stoicism is characterized by the beautiful concept of detachment, which is not meant to be insensitive or cold-hearted, but rather to refer to the understanding of what we are able to control and what we are not able to control. On top of that, one of the most powerful things that we have the ability to control is whether or not we choose to remain in a circumstance that is not suitable for us. Additionally, we are referring to relationships here. We've all been in that situation where everything in US tells us this isn't what we deserve, but we continue to stay in it anyway. But there could be a number of reasons for this, including the fear of being alone, the fear of change, or simply the desire to cling to the hope that things will improve and change. On the other hand, here is the Stoic point: the true power lies in the realization that we have the ability to choose differently and that we have the ability to remain in a situation that forces us to compromise our values. On the other hand, this does not imply that we should give up everything at the first indicator of trouble. It takes effort, dedication, and patience to maintain healthy relationships. To a large extent, it is about having such a profound understanding of your own worth that you are prepared to walk away whenever something goes against it. To be able to say, "I value myself enough to not settle for less than I deserve." An individual must possess the inner strength and stoic fortitude to make such a statement. Let's go into this topic a little bit more in depth. Self-affirmation and self-compassion are both exhibited when one is ready to walk away from a situation. Having the clarity and inner strength to recognize when a situation or relationship is not aligned with our fundamental values and our sense of dignity is what it means to have this ability. On the other hand, I would like to stress that this does not have to be a process that is fraught with turmoil or drama. The realization that we are deserving of something better is frequently accompanied by a calm and conscious awareness. Indeed, it is true that confronting the unknown can cause fear, and uncertainty can be intimidating. On the other hand, it is precisely in these trying times that we are reminded of the teachings of the Stoics, who encourage us to face adversity with bravery and to acknowledge that life is in a state of constant change. Understanding that you have the ability to let go of things that are no longer beneficial to you is similar to creating space in your life for new experiences and opportunities to come your way. It's like cleansing the way for one's own personal development and revitalization. You are not clinging to a situation out of need or fear, rather, you are making the conscious decision to honor your own emotional well-being and happiness. It is essential that you comprehend this fact. Nevertheless, if you have the bravery to leave something that is no longer providing you with nourishment, you are taking a step toward a future that is brighter and more satisfying. You are expressing your acceptance of yourself as well as the opportunities that lie beyond what is currently known to you. Consequently, as we contemplate the concept of being ready to remove oneself from a situation, let us not forget that this act of bravery and authenticity enables us to expose ourselves to new experiences and opportunities in life. We are reminded that we are deserving of living our lives to the fullest, and that we have the ability to create the kind of life that we want for ourselves. As we take a moment to savor our coffee and allow these thoughts to penetrate deeper into our minds, let us not forget that being ready to leave does not mean adopting a cold or distant attitude toward other people. On the contrary, it is about cultivating self-love and a profound respect for ourselves, which gives us the ability to recognize and respect our own boundaries and requirements. When we say, "I deserve better," we are not passing judgment on other people in a condescending manner, rather, we are reiterating our own integrity and worth. Recognizing that we are deserving of relationships that respect us and propel us toward personal and emotional development is the key to having this realization. Affirming our self-esteem and honoring our most fundamental requirements are both accomplished when we have the bravery to walk away from something that is no longer beneficial to us. While we are going through the process of getting ready to leave, we are also developing the ability to recognize what it is that we truly value in the relationships we have. This gives us the ability to recognize patterns that are harmful or toxic and to make choices that are in line with our long-term happiness and well-being on a consistent basis. In light of this, let us not forget that being ready to leave is not only an act of self-love, but also an expression of our dedication to living a life that is completely and authentically lived. This serves as a constant reminder that we are deserving of being treated with respect and consideration in all of our interactions, and that we are willing to defend that right with determination and firmness. Stoicism places a significant emphasis on personal integrity and the courage to stand up for one's principles. Another important aspect of Stoicism is the power of the word no when it comes to our capacity to say no in romantic relationships. This is directly relevant. All of your punctuation and other errors have been fixed, and here is your revised text. It's about knowing what you believe in and not being afraid to hold your standards. Consider the scenario where you're in a relationship and your partner suggests something that doesn't feel right to you. It might be moving too fast or compromising your values in some way. The easiest option would be to simply go along, but here's where your inner Stoic self must intervene and say no. It's a matter of respecting yourself and your values. I'm not saying this is easy, on the contrary. It can be incredibly difficult, especially when you care about the person. There's always that voice in the back of your head saying, what if this pushes them away, but here's where we must be courageous. Stoicism teaches us about courage, not only to face external challenges but also to confront internal ones. Saying no is not just about self-respect, it's about showing that you value yourself enough not to settle for less than you deserve. You might lose them, but here's the key: if saying no to something that goes against your values pushes someone away, then maybe, just maybe, they weren't right for you. This approach can truly shift the dynamics of a relationship. When someone sees that you're not afraid to say no, that you're not there just to please them at the expense of your own values, their perspective changes. It shows them that you're someone who respects themselves, someone who values themselves. And here's another Stoic twist: refusing something contrary to our values is not just about setting boundaries with others, it's also about being honest with ourselves. It's about recognizing what you truly want and not compromising on a relationship. It's about not letting the fear of loneliness lead you to make decisions that are not right for you. Delving into this point, saying no is truly an act of authenticity and self-assertion. It allows us to establish healthy boundaries and stay true to our core values. It's a manifestation of living with integrity, just as the Stoics taught us, reminding us of the importance of standing firm in our convictions and acting in accordance with our principles. When we say no, we're honoring our authentic needs and desires rather than succumbing to external expectations or the demands of others. It's a form of self-care and authenticity. By setting clear boundaries and expressing our needs honestly, we foster healthier and more meaningful relationships where both we and others are valued and respected for who we truly are. Therefore, let's remember that it's okay to say no. It's an expression of self-love and an important step towards building authentic and satisfying relationships. By embracing our ability to say no when necessary, we position ourselves in a place of personal power and allow ourselves to live with integrity and authenticity in all our interactions. Saying no can be an act of liberation, an affirmation of your own autonomy and dignity. It's the conscious refusal to compromise your values and integrity in the name of convenience or social acceptance. By exercising this power of no, you're actively shaping the course of your relationships, establishing clear boundaries, and protecting your own essence. It's a way of putting yourself first, acknowledging that your emotional and moral well-being is as important as any other consideration. Furthermore, by saying no respectfully and firmly, you're communicating clear expectations to others and promoting more authentic and transparent communication. This creates an atmosphere of trust and mutual respect where each party feels free to express their needs and boundaries. Saying no when necessary not only strengthens your own self-esteem, but also strengthens relationships as it establishes a solid foundation of understanding and mutual respect. Stoicism and healthy skepticism go hand in hand. Stoics make an effort to see things as they actually are, rather than as they are expected to be. In the realm of love and relationships, you might wonder if this is relevant. We have all heard someone say the words we want to hear as if they were the right ones, and we want to believe them, ignoring the warning signs in the background. This is where our inner Stoic self comes into play. Having a healthy dose of skepticism is similar to having a superpower. It does not mean that you are pessimistic or cynical. It is not about being grounded or not taking everything literally. Instead, it is about observing, questioning, and not diving in headfirst without giving the situation some thought. Let's set the stage. Imagine this scenario: you meet someone and you think they're great. They're saying all these wonderful things, planning a future together. However, it's only been a few weeks since you met. Your Stoic side would say, take it slow, don't rush, let's see if their actions match their words, and how things develop. It's like a reality check to remind you not to get lost in romance. This skepticism isn't about bombarding the other person with questions or doubting every move they make. It's more about being mindful, listening to what they say, and also observing what they do. It's about taking the time to really get to know someone, to check if they're consistent and authentic. The Stoics highly valued the use of logic and reason, not just letting themselves be carried away by emotions. In relationships, this is crucial. It's true that finding the balance between our emotions and logic can be a challenge in relationships. However, by cultivating a little skepticism, we can give space for our rationality to assess situations more objectively and clearly. By maintaining a certain degree of skepticism, we don't allow ourselves to be swept away by the emotional current of the moment, but make decisions grounded in reality and our authentic needs. This allows us to discern between what is beneficial for us and what could pose a threat or obstacle to our emotional well-being. Furthermore, skepticism provides us with the opportunity to safeguard our hearts against the possibility of experiencing emotional harm or disappointment by preventing us from rushing into situations without first conducting an accurate assessment of the circumstances. It is not simply about erecting barriers or walls around our heart, rather, it is about opening doors cautiously and with discernment. This is accomplished by allowing ourselves the necessary space to better understand the other person, their intentions, and the degree to which they are compatible with our own needs and values. Our ability to maintain vigilance and awareness of our feelings, while at the same time allowing ourselves to explore new connections with a clear mind and a protected heart, is facilitated by a healthy dose of skepticism. The Stoic philosophy of life encourages us to tune into the essence of existence, flow with the natural rhythms of the universe, and accept reality with serenity and acceptance. One of the essential components of this philosophy is the acceptance of imperfections. These lessons have profound and life-altering significance when we consider them in the context of love. The adoption of a Stoic perspective allows us to recognize that we, along with our loved ones, are imperfect beings who are subject to the vicissitudes of life and the limitations that come with being human. We embrace imperfections as an essential component of the human experience, value authenticity over appearance, and discover beauty in vulnerability and sincerity. Rather than looking for perfection in others or in ourselves, we embrace imperfections as an essential component of the human experience. It is through the acceptance of these imperfections with compassion and understanding that we make room for the development of each other and for genuine connection. We have the opportunity to cultivate strong and meaningful relationships through the practice of acceptance and understanding. which provides us with the opportunity to cultivate relationships in which genuine connection and mutual support are fundamental mental pillars. We learn to adapt and flow with the circumstances that present themselves to us, thereby discovering a profound sense of peace and satisfaction in the present moment. This is in contrast to the traditional approach of fighting against reality or attempting to mold others in accordance with our desires. When we engage in the practice of acceptance, we acknowledge and accept not only our own imperfections, but also those of others. We acknowledge that we are all human beings with limitations, and that it is natural for us to make mistakes and experience difficulties in our relationships. Instead of passing judgment on ourselves or others, we give ourselves permission to be compassionate and understanding, acknowledging that everyone is functioning to the best of their abilities with the resources and tools that are available to them at the present time. This comprehension encourages us to put ourselves in the position of other people, to empathize with their experiences and struggles, to acknowledge that every person has their own story, wounds and motivations, and to make an effort to comprehend their point of view with compassion and empathy. In doing so, we strengthen the bonds of connection and trust that exist within our relationships, thereby cultivating an atmosphere that is characterized by mutual support and understanding that is not conditional. We are able to cultivate relationships that are more genuine and meaningful through the practice of acceptance and understanding. These relationships are characterized by an environment of mutual respect and acceptance, which fosters the growth of love and meaningful connections. We are able to discover a profound sense of contentment and fulfillment in our relationships when we acquire the ability to learn to flow with the circumstances and accept reality in its current state. This enables love to blossom in all of its breathtaking splendor. In conclusion, Stoicism encourages us to accept reality in its current state, discovering beauty and significance in each and every experience, including the relationships we have with those we love. The cultivation of genuine and profoundly satisfying relationships that are founded on genuine connection and unwavering mutual support can be accomplished through the practice of acceptance, understanding, and compassion of others. Try not to chase. The idea that one should not pursue something is intricately connected to everything that we have talked about, particularly when viewed through the lens of Stoicism. Stoicism places a significant emphasis on letting go of things that are not within our control and concentrating on the things that are within our control. When applied to interpersonal connections, this philosophy reveals itself to be of tremendous power. It is about coming to terms with the fact that pursuing someone who is withdrawing from our presence is not only pointless but also counterproductive to our sense of self-respect and our own sense of value. Take into consideration the following scenario: you are dating someone and everything appears to be going well. However, distance begins to arise between the two of you. All of us have been in situations that are comparable to this one, and we have an innate desire to pursue the other person in an effort to fill the void that we have created. Stoic lessons, on the other hand, come into play at this point. To paraphrase what the Stoics would say, wait, why chase after something that is not under your control? What happened to your dignity, self-respect, and peace of mind? Chasing after someone who is pulling away from you is like trying to hold water between your fingers. It is ineffective and leaves you feeling empty. However, the most important thing is to have the bravery to let go of things that aren't serving us in order to make room for something that is more beneficial. Getting rid of the clutter in order to make room for clarity and freshness is the same experience. Putting distance between ourselves and things that do not offer us nourishment is an act of self-love and authenticity, despite the fact that it may be difficult to do so. Standing firm in our own value is the primary focus of the Stoic philosophy. Don't force someone to move away from you, let them. This is not about being indifferent or insensitive, rather, it is about acknowledging that we are unable to control the emotions or actions of another person. The only thing we can do is control how we react to them. This is not an easy task, let's be honest. In order to resist giving in to that impulse, a great deal of strength is required. On the other hand, it is about having faith that whenever someone genuinely desires to be with us, they will be. When we stop chasing after things, we start to concentrate on ourselves and our own lives, and incredible things start to take place. People are drawn to us because of our strength and self-assurance. They are drawn to us. In a sense, we are sending a message that conveys the message, I value myself. We should take a Stoic approach to our relationships, showing respect for ourselves and concentrating on the things that we have the ability to control. Finding peace within oneself is more important than seeking approval from others. It is up to us to decide how we will respond to the environment that we are surrounded by. It is important to keep in mind that we are the keepers of our own self-esteem and the architects of our own dignity. Take advantage of that power. Allow our deeds, decisions, and boundaries to speak for themselves about the incredible person that we are. These are some of the ways that we can demonstrate our worth and acknowledge the worth of others. When it comes to following Stoic advice, actions are more important than words. It is important to keep in mind that courage is not something that we say, but rather something that we demonstrate through our actions, such as refraining from pursuing. By recognizing our own self-worth as something that is intrinsic and unshakable, we are liberating ourselves from the emotional trap of seeking validation from outside sources. This calls for bravery and self-awareness on our part, as it requires us to have faith in our own worthiness regardless of how other people react or behave toward us. It is an act of personal empowerment in which we affirm our own dignity and refuse to seek validation from other people in the context of our relationships. By adopting a stance that does not involve chasing, we are practicing detachment, which is a skill that is highly valued in Stoic philosophy. Detachment enables us to let go of expectations that are not realistic and to accept reality in its current state, which in turn enables us to more easily adapt to the changes and challenges that life presents. We are able to create more room for greater freedom and inner tranquility when we let go of the need to control the outcome of our relationships. This allows us to live more in harmony with the Stoic principles of acceptance and equanimity for ourselves and others. Furthermore, by making the decision to refrain from pursuing, we are also cultivating an attitude of self-love and respect for ourselves. Instead of putting ourselves through the agony of chasing after someone who is pulling away, we are honoring our own boundaries and the emotional needs that we have. We are aware that we are entitled to be treated with respect and consideration, and the first step in accordance with this recognition is to remove ourselves from circumstances that do not value or emotionally nourish us. By allowing the other person to maintain their independence and freedom, we are, on the other hand, contributing to the development of a more positive dynamic in our relationships. By laying a strong foundation, we are laying the groundwork for genuine and meaningful connections. We are allowing our partner to feel free to be authentic and fully express themselves, rather than suffocating them with our own expectations and demands regarding the relationship. The emotional bonds between the two of you are strengthened, and the relationship becomes more balanced and harmonious as a result. Ultimately, by engaging in the practice of non-chasing, we are also honoring the personal journeys of each separate individual. We acknowledge that everyone progresses at their own rate of growth and development, and we respect the right of every individual to pursue their own course of action through life. This not only enables us to develop greater compassion and empathy for other people, but it also makes it possible for us to free ourselves from the pressure of trying to control the direction that relationships take. Instead, we put our faith in the natural process of life and allow ourselves to be open to the opportunities for personal development and education that present themselves along the way. In Stoic philosophy, unconditional love is a fundamental concept that goes beyond the concept of simply loving other people without expecting anything in return. It entails acknowledging and appreciating the inherent value that each individual possesses, irrespective of their actions, accomplishments, or the circumstances in which they find themselves. We make a commitment to accepting and valuing who we are, with all of our strengths and weaknesses, when we engage in the practice of receiving unconditional love for ourselves. In order to accomplish this, we must learn to cultivate a relationship of compassion and acceptance with ourselves, thereby liberating ourselves from excessive self-criticism and constructive criticism. In addition, simply demonstrating empathy and compassion for the experiences and challenges that other people are going through is not enough to demonstrate unconditional love for them. It also means accepting people in their current state without making any attempts to alter them or passing judgment on them for the choices or actions they have taken. There is a lot more to being there for other people when they are going through difficult times than simply offering support and a shoulder to cry on. It is about cultivating a genuine and profound connection with those who are in our immediate vicinity. This entails being willing to actively listen to them, comprehend their worries and fears, and provide the necessary support, even if doing so requires us to step outside of our comfort zone. By engaging in this kind of unconditional support, we not only show that we have empathy and compassion for other people, but we also strengthen the relationships that we have with ourselves. Our commitment to being there for one another in times of need is the foundation upon which we are constructing long-lasting bonds that are founded on trust and respect for one another. Unconditional support is not limited to times of crisis. It also involves being there to celebrate the triumphs and achievements of others and sharing in their joy. It is important to keep in mind that its benefits are not limited to times of crisis. The act of celebrating the achievements of others is a demonstration of solidarity and camaraderie that further strengthens our connections with those who are in our immediate vicinity. One of the most important aspects of unconditional love is the ability to forgive and let go of resentment or bitterness toward those who have caused us pain or disappointment. Recognizing our own humanity as well as the humanity of others, as well as the fact that we all make mistakes and experience difficulties in life, is a necessary step in this process. Forgiveness does not mean that we should justifiably justify the actions of others or ignore the harm that they have caused us. On the contrary, it is about liberating ourselves from the emotional burden that comes with harboring resentment and allowing ourselves to move forward with compassion and inner peace. Not only do we strengthen our relationships with other people when we engage in the practice of unconditional love and forgiveness, but we also have the opportunity to develop and progress as individuals. When we make the decision to forgive and love without conditions, we are able to liberate ourselves from the burden of harboring resentment and bitterness, thereby creating room for significant personal development. The concept of unconditional love encourages us to accept other people in their entirety, with all of their imperfections and flaws, and to acknowledge the inherent value that they possess as human beings. This presents us with the challenge of demonstrating compassion and empathy toward them, even when they have caused us pain or disappointment, and to not close ourselves off to the possibility of a more profound level of understanding and reconciliation. Furthermore, forgiveness enables us to let go of the past and move forward with greater clarity and inner peace. It also enables us to leave behind feelings of resentment and rancor, which create space for personal development and emotional healing from the past. It gives us the opportunity to open ourselves up to new experiences and opportunities for love and genuine connection, allowing us to close painful chapters in our lives. But we have the opportunity to experience a deeper and more enriching connection with ourselves and others, as well as to live a life that is fuller and more satisfying when we engage in the practice of unconditional love and forgiveness. This allows us to build relationships that are healthier and more meaningful, based on mutual acceptance, respect, and personal development. Last but not least, you shouldn't make another person the focal point of your entire life. When we put other people on a pedestal in today's society, we frequently find ourselves falling into the trap of losing our own sense of direction in love, creating your own way through life. You'll see how you become more valuable. No one can harm you without your consent. Don't let others control you. This profound quote serves as a reminder that in the end, we are the ones who are responsible for maintaining our own inner peace and emotional well-being. It is essential to have the understanding that we have the power to choose how we are affected by critical opinions and external judgments in a world where they can be everywhere. Taking responsibility for our thoughts and feelings is a call to self-reflection and authenticity, one that encourages us to be ourselves without the fear of being judged by others. As a result of internalizing this Stoic principle, we become masters of our own destiny, and our self-esteem and self-respect flourish, which in turn makes us more valuable and important to other people. Therefore, when we are confronted with difficulties and criticism in our lives, let us not forget this profound truth from Marcus Aurelius: no one can harm you without your consent. This philosophy serves to remind us of the significance of remaining true to what we consider to be right and just. When we apply this concept to our romantic relationships, it means making sure that the relationship is in line with our most fundamental principles and values, even when we are in the context of an intimate relationship. To accomplish this, we must first consider what those values are for us and how they manifest themselves in our day-to-day lives as well as in our relationship. By way of illustration, if we place a high value on honesty and trust, it is of the utmost importance that our relationship is founded on open communication and transparency. Similarly, if we place a high value on equality and mutual respect, we have a responsibility to make sure that our interactions with our partner are consistent with these values. Making decisions that are based on our values also means remaining true to who we are, even when we are confronted with difficulties or pressures from the outside world in the context of the relationship. This may require us to make decisions that are challenging, such as establishing healthy boundaries or terminating a relationship that does not meet our ethical standards. When we make a commitment to living our lives in accordance with our values within the context of a romantic relationship, we are laying the groundwork for a connection that is both meaningful and long-lasting. This commitment not only helps us to more effectively maintain our own personal integrity, but it also helps to foster an atmosphere within the relationship that is characterized by trust, respect, and the development of both parties. It is possible for us to behave in a manner that is consistent with what we consider to be important in life and in our interactions with our partner if we align our actions and decisions with our respective values. To give one example, if we place a high value on loyalty, we will make it a priority to be trustworthy and faithful in our relationship. Those of us who place a high value on generosity will look for ways to provide unselfish support and care for our partner. This congruence between our values and our actions creates a sense of authenticity and sincerity in the relationship, where our partner perceives us as individuals of integrity and trustworthiness, thereby strengthening the bond of trust that we share with one another. As an additional benefit, when we behave in a manner that is congruent with our values, we motivate our partner to do the same, which in turn fosters mutual development and a deeper understanding between the two of them. In addition, living in accordance with our values assists us in overcoming the difficulties and disagreements that may arise within the context of the relationship. Rather than compromising our principles or acting rashly, we can use our values as a guide to make ethical and constructive decisions when we are confronted with challenging circumstances. This enables us to resolve issues in a manner that is respectful and constructive, rather than compromising our principles or acting immediately. In the end, living in a romantic relationship in accordance with our values not only contributes to our own happiness and well-being, but it also strengthens the connection that we have with our partner. It is possible for us to establish a relationship that is not only stable and fulfilling, but also long-lasting if we construct it together on the basis of honesty and shared regard for one another. When it comes to a romantic relationship, practicing virtue entails a great deal more than simply behaving in a manner that is honest, loyal, compassionate, and respectful toward our partner. Making a commitment to being the best versions of ourselves in every facet of our shared life is what it means to make this commitment. Honesty, which extends beyond transparency in communication, is something that virtue encourages us to cultivate further. But being genuine in our interactions and presenting ourselves in our current state, with both our strengths and our weaknesses, is what it means to be authentic. By doing so, we cultivate an atmosphere of mutual trust in which both parties are able to freely grow and develop the relationship. The concept of loyalty in a healthy relationship encompasses not only the act of being emotionally and physically faithful to one's partner, but also a long-term commitment to providing support and being present for one's partner across all situations. During difficult times, it is important to be there for others, to provide a shoulder to lean on, and to lend a helping hand in order to overcome obstacles together. One of the components of virtue is compassion, which requires us to put ourselves in the position of our partner, gaining an understanding of their points of view and demonstrating empathy for their experiences and feelings. In a relationship that is founded on mutual respect and virtue, there is an atmosphere that fosters trust and mutual support for one another. Not only does this entail acknowledging the values that our partner possesses as an individual, but it also entails encouraging their personal and professional development. It is about actively listening to their concerns and opinions, making an effort to understand their point of view, and working together to make decisions that are beneficial to both parts of the relationship. Further, it entails expressing gratitude and appreciation for the contributions and efforts made by our partner, which ultimately results in the strengthening of the emotional bond and connection that exists between the two of them. Respect is the cornerstone upon which a strong and fulfilling partnership is constructed, where love and understanding can flourish. In the end, respect is the foundation upon which a virtuous relationship is built. To summarize, the act of practicing virtue in a romantic relationship entails making a commitment to living according to the highest moral and ethical principles, cultivating an environment of honesty, loyalty, compassion, and mutual respect, and thereby laying the foundation for a genuine and long-lasting connection. The act of allowing other people to invest in you is a recognition of your uniqueness and worthfulness. Your presence in the life of another person is not the only thing that matters. You must also strive to become an important and indispensable component in their world. understanding that something that is easily obtained has a tendency to be undervalued or inadequately appreciated is a necessary component of this acknowledgement. Appreciation that is genuine is the result of hard work and commitment. When someone makes an investment of their time, feelings, and energy into your life, a powerful and more long-lasting connection is formed between the two of you. By going through this process, your role will be transformed from that of a fleeting curiosity to that of a presence that is genuinely appreciated. It is not about desperately seeking attention or love from other people, rather, it is about demonstrating that you are a valuable and enriching contribution to their lives, and that you are worthy of genuine and authentic interest. It is important to remember that allowing other people to invest in you means providing them with the opportunity to transform your presence into an important component of their lives. If they were to lose the words of the Stoic philosopher Seneca, it would be something they would avoid doing. This idea resonates with the concept that a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man can be perfected without trials. The essence of your value does not simply lie in the fact that you exist, rather, it is in the fact that you are sought after and earned. The story of Alexander the Great and his teacher, Aristotle, exemplifies how the value of valuable teaching and the relationship between teacher and student transcend the conventional. This is demonstrated by reflecting on the story. Aristotle, a wise philosopher, was not only a tutor in the life of the young prince, but he was also a beacon of knowledge and essential strategic thinking for the administration of an empire. Alexander, who was renowned for his intelligence and sense of ambition, recognized the significance of Aristotle's teachings and committed a significant amount of time and effort to acquiring knowledge of them. Throughout the entirety of this video, we have discussed 11 fundamental principles that are essential to the development of relationships that are both healthy and meaningful. We have realized that unconditional love, which is derived from Stoic philosophy, teaches us to let go of control over certain aspects of our lives that we are unable to alter, thereby fostering inner peace and authenticity. Furthermore, when we live our lives in accordance with our values, we not only strengthen our own integrity, but we also inspire our partner to do the same, which promotes both of our personal development and fosters a deeper understanding between us. By recognizing our individuality and worth, allowing others to invest in us, we are able to establish bonds of trust and respect, which in turn enriches the journey that we are all on together. Putting virtue into practice in a romantic relationship involves more than just being honest and loyal. It also involves making a commitment to one's own personal development and providing support to one another, which helps to strengthen the foundations of a lifelong connection. In conclusion, by adopting a Stoic approach, we are able to learn how to find balance, how to face challenges with calmness, and how to cultivate an intrinsic connection with ourselves. This allows us to create relationships that are genuine, enriching, and meaningful. Not only do these principles influence the way we interact with other people, but they also give us the ability to be the architects of our own happiness and the fulfillment of our own personal goals. Simply by incorporating them into our day-to-day lives, we have the ability to transform not only our relationships, but also ourselves, thereby leading to a life that is richer and more satisfying. Always keep in mind that genuine development is the result of consistent introspection and the diligent application of these principles, which ultimately results in the creation of a path that leads to a life that is more genuine and significant. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your company and the dedication you have shown throughout this video as we come to the end of our journey. My sincere hope is that the reflections and insights that have been shared here have been enlightening and motivating for you, so that you have experienced genuine personal development and gained a fresh viewpoint on the dynamics of relationships. It is essential to keep in mind that relationships are a never-ending journey of learning and development, in which every experience, regardless of whether it is difficult or rewarding, contributes to our maturation and development. This interaction will allow us to further strengthen our connection and reinforce our mutual commitment to personal and interpersonal growth. If you have watched up until this point, I would like to extend an invitation to you to share in the comments, "I am ready to apply these principles in my life." I pray that you are able to incorporate these important principles into your daily routine, cultivating relationships that are genuine and meaningful, and living each moment with a sense of purpose and fullness. We are grateful to you once more for your presence, and we will see you in our next video.